may I request 𝗙𝗱𝗶𝗁𝗲 sir for the presentation. 𝗙𝗱𝗶𝗁𝗲 sir is academic head in Trinity College, London. May I request sir to join us on the stage?
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I think in public speaking terms, this is that part that they call the graveyard shift. Do you have any idea why? It's that time just after lunch and just before tea when gravity takes over your eyelids. So they've put me in over here hoping that you can sleep through mine. So I thought I'd kind of start things with a slightly different note. So here goes.
और एक से एक चीज मिलती है वहाँ पर, और तेरे को पता है वहाँ पर भाई हवा में वो चल रही है आजकल स्केटिंग वगैरह जो है, पता है तेरे को वहाँ पर, और एक से एक हेलो
Sorry, I think the sound guys fell asleep, not you all. फिर से? In life you do get second chances, so let's go.
और एक से एक चीज मिलती है वहाँ पर, और तेरे को पता है वहाँ पर भाई हवा में वो चल रही है आजकल स्केटिंग वगैरह जो है, पता है तेरे को वहाँ पर, और एक से एक हेलो
You long hair and lanky fellow, stand where you are sitting. Teacher enter, no notice. Full insulting. You mother father's manners, this.
सर वो बात ऐसी है.
Speak in English. This English coaching, not a local language.
Actually talk was that sir ji की
Oh no, stop.
Sorry sir.
Sorry ka baby. You together thinking English speaking like a rice plate eating? No, never. Not. English speaking not a children play. English speaking like a undertaker play. Taj Mahal create.
Taj Mahal create.
Yes. Again time. Careful. Again time this behavior. So touch to my fingerprint. You chick. So big chick. You chick. Red chick. Understand?
Yes.
The postman, the busy man, the collector letter from the fever. Student chat bhanda. Stand up.
So I thought I'd start this afternoon by addressing the elephant in the room. When you talk of education, you cannot not talk of English education in India. But on a gathering such as like this one, we're talking education all round. So I'm going to wear multiple hats as I talk to you. I'm going to speak to you as a parent, just like many of you in this room. I'm going to speak to you like a teacher, where many of you did begin. And I'm also going to speak to you on behalf of Trinity College London as the academic head. We live in a country where education is rising. Everybody is educated. As schools and institutions, we've got a lot to celebrate about. And as you can see, this could be results of the last year, the year before, or the year before that. And 95% is the new norm. When you and I were in school, 50% was also considered not bad. Now, the problem is not here. The problem is when we cross over. And from the gist of whatever's been happening during the course of the day, I think we all know that this is the problem. Because industry is telling us that despite all these brilliant results, we invariably are still off the mark with our young learners. So, the big question is, what is the missing link? And the missing link, as we've been using this word today, is skills, communication skills, transferable skills. And we no longer talk about being educated to be employed or employable. We talk about being educated to be impactful. When we consider what needs to be done here to be impactful, this is where the rubber hits the road. And this is where we need to consider, how do we make our future children future-proof? Indeed, if we've learned anything in the last couple of years, is that there's some things you just can't plan for. And if that wasn't bad enough, we learned it 1 year later again, or 1 year ago. So when we look at education, all right, we traditionally look at it in the context of acquiring knowledge. And yes, sure, we then look at it in the context of applying that knowledge, but is that enough? Here comes in the big important sense of skills that we are looking to build, and we call these transferable skills. And if you recall in the very first slide I mentioned, we've been developing 21st century skills since the 19th century. Now, I will talk to you a little bit about that, but I am exceedingly mindful, in the interest of being driven by skills, to respect your time. So I firstly will be brief, and I will definitely finish within my time slot. But I do also want to add over here that this validation of the role of transferable skills has been validated by UNICEF, who go on to say that besides the foundational skills and the job-specific skills and the digital skills that you're learning, transferable skills hold the magic glue, or are like the magic glue that are holding together a lot of this. So the big question is, what are transferable skills? According to the World Economic Forum, these are the top 10 transferable skills that we're looking to develop in our learners by 2025. If you assimilate them into just broad categories, it just looks like this. And this is a moment for inflection, because we now need to ask ourselves, where does our education build this? So I want to share with you how we do things for the last 150 years. Trinity College London is an examination board. We are not a college, although we use that name, but we're an examination board which is headquartered in the UK. We've been in operation, in fact, we just completed 150 years this month. And we've been in India since 1881. And many people know Trinity College London because of our music exams. But at a much larger level, what we do also do, most importantly, is develop syllabi. Syllabi with learning outcomes, age appropriate, skill appropriate, learner appropriate. And to those syllabi, we ensure that there's the holistic development of a child. And when I say child, I mean learner, because we even have adults who do our assessments. And surrounded by all of this is the fact that these assessments that we conduct need to be obviously recognized around the world. So they're compliant with the CEFR if it's a language exam. They're compliant with UCAS if it's children looking to study abroad. They're compliant with the RQF for the Regulated Qualification Framework, or for that matter, even the EQF, the European Qualification Framework. So all these assessments invariably not just help a child know where they are, all right, but also help them know how do they stand vis-a-vis the world. Now, how do we do this? So I want you to go on a journey with me, right? And these are, by the way, all the subjects that we cover it in. So in English, we do listening and speaking, or the 2 skills. We do the 4 skills, the LRSW. And I'll talk a little bit about this as we go along. We do teaching of English as a foreign language with the highest qualifications available. But we do some really interesting ones as well. Communication skills, public speaking, speech and drama, performance arts and music. But how do we do this? So for the last 7 years in schools in India, we've been building out a really interesting roadmap. And for this, I'd like you to imagine you are a parent first. Imagine you've got your children starting off life at the age of 3, and before your child is born, what is the first thing you want your child to be? Before your child is born? Healthy. That's right. And after your child is born and they take their first few steps and life gets on, all right, what do you want them to be? A good human being. That comes normally a little later, and that's what we want eventually all our children to be. But at the earliest stages, perhaps the first thing that we really want them to be is confident. If you ask any teacher who's teaching the primary section, she'll tell you parents come on open house days and say, my child is not speaking enough, they're not confident enough, they're shy, they take 2 steps backwards. And of course, this could also have complications got to do with the way children are treated sometimes culturally in India, which is nice to see them, not so nice to hear them, and so on and so forth. But this is where things need to change. Because if a child finds their confidence between the ages of 3 to 7, and this is what we really do through devised drama for play for children, which brings out various skills from singing, talking, speaking, choreography, clapping, music. It's all built into this, and this is done in groups for little children. And then as a child gets a little older, at the age of about 5, this is where we say, speaking and listening is the next most important thing. I think we all know that in schools we do a lot of reading and writing. But if we ever look at our lives, and when it comes down to those crunch moments, it comes down to moments of when you're going to say something, or when you've got to listen to something and say something in response. Speaking and listening is a skill which is heavily overlooked, all right? And a couple of years ago, 2015 May, I remember this date like it was only yesterday, a mother came up to me and she said, please help my son. He's failing in his interviews. He's very smart. So I was like, okay. And so I said, maybe we can meet next week. And she said, no. His next interview is really very important. It's do or die. I'm thinking to myself, all interviews are important. And then she says, he's very, very smart. So again, I say, okay, every parent says their child is smart. But here she said, very, very smart. So I said, what do you mean by very, very smart? And then she put her head down and she said, actually, he's IIT rank 1 this year from Bombay. I said, okay. I said, what's the problem? She says he's got a campus placement of 1.8 crore annual package, but he can't clear his interview. Can you help him? Now, I think suffice to say that language wasn't the problem. Just the ability to put what's happening in that complex mind and relate it to the outside world was the problem. And this, I dare say, is the problem of many others. So, speaking and listening. Now, as children get a little older, from the age of about 7, 8 years old, they all start to develop little identities. Why? Because music and drama and movies and all that stuff has kicked in. And now, of course, YouTubing and so on so. That children start to explore themselves. And this is the right time to expose them to all the creative arts, including sport, all right? And get them in the bargain to also develop the transferable skills that they need. It's on a playground during a game of football or devising a dramatic play that you will learn teamwork, that you will learn critical thinking, that you will learn creativity. So this is how we do it at that age. And then as children get a little older, from the age of about 13 onwards, when they're beginning to make sense of what their further ambitions will be and dealing with the complexities of higher education and employability, that's when we say we need to work on the reading, writing, listening, and speaking. All right, so we do something known as the integrated skills in English. And all of these, by the way, are benchmarked by international standards. So it's the CEFR, the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, which is common to any language exam. All right, and beyond that, we also offer diplomas, which offer you the mastery and which literally you can do a master's at. And all our other assessments, which are driven by vocation or performance, are regulated to a British standard and the European standard. So, in a nutshell, all right, this is the pathway that we've been using in schools. Sometimes we roll it out just for the pre-primary children and only do devised drama, and then we start only with learning language, and then we do it in a stepped way. all right? Only because change will begin at the earliest stages, and that's where we can affect the change. Now, I want you to meet Gitanjali Rao, all right? And this Gitanjali could be what our children are also.
Gitanjali Rao is an 11-year-old who saw her parents testing the water in their new home for lead, and she thought there must be a better way. Did I mention she is 11? So she invented a way, and that won her the title of America's top young scientist at this year's 2017 Discovery Education 3M Young Scientist Challenge. So let's bring out Gitanjali. Come on out. Did I say your name right?
Gitanjali.
Gitanjali.
Yes.
That's great. All right, so tell us about your award. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's so awesome. How did it feel when they called your name? Did you know they were going to call your name?
I did not know they were going to call my name. When I won the Discovery Education 3M Young Scientist Challenge, it was one of the best days of my life. It was amazing to see that 3 months of hard work and just those 2 days leading up to the final event all paid off, and I actually won the challenge. So.
Yeah, just tell us about how this all happened, where your experiment came from.
Yeah, so I have always been interested about the Flint, Michigan water crisis. I was originally inspired by it, and I knew that Flint wasn't the only place with lead-contaminated water, and there were over 5,000 water systems in the U.S. So I created a device on this when I saw my parents testing for lead in their water.
So why am I sharing this with you? Because we as teachers and principals all have Gitanjalis in our midst. I'm very sure, and this is not news to you, by the way, Gitanjali this year became the first child ever to grace the Time magazine calendar. First child ever. That was 2017, this is now 2020. And no, sure, she's just happens to be in the right country with given the right exposure and the right recognition. But our children in India too are like that. These are some of my own students who've done TED Talks of their own. Some have literally written books which are up for sale on Amazon. Now, I say this all to you because within us, there will be at least 1,000 children that have already done this. But what happens to the other 99,000 that are not doing this? Are their ideas not important? Are these skills not what they need? In fact, if you ask me, I think they need it more than ever. So the big question is, how do we do this? Well, the proof of the pudding, as they say, is in eating it. And it first starts by designing an assessment which keeps the test taker at the center. Okay, I think the image is quite illustrative to suggest that we all know that our children are unique. We all know that our children are different. Is a standardized test for skills the right answer? And the purpose of a test should also be threefold. Sure, it should tell you how well you did and what is your purpose or sense of achievement, but it should also tell you what is your proficiency. And most importantly, the purpose of testing is washback, which means that it should also tell you or be a diagnostic for you. And when you combine all of these, all right, that is when you can start to build a robust system of learning, teaching, assessing, reteaching, relearning. And that cycle then gets complete. So across different subjects that we offer, this is the spoken English assessments. This is, by the way, what we did with the CBSE board in between 2012 and 2017. We did this in about 17,000 schools at the time. We designed a subject known as Assessment of Speaking and Listening. And this was done for grade 9 and grade 11 students. And then we realized through that project that essentially we're doing too little too late. We need to do this for the younger ages. So we've started to hence do a lot more, all right? We do this now at the earlier ages as well. This is the 4-skill exam, which can also be used for higher college admissions, can in certain countries for visa entries and applications and so on. So, and this is not just those subjects, this applies to all our subjects. All right, so you'll see I've taken a little bit of a poetic liberty over there to extend what the coverage and depth and breadth is. So, as I end now, just something to share with you over here is that as an academic body, we are also an educational charity. And we also have an academic team, which means we're in a position to help, serve, and train teachers so that they can in turn train students. So this is how we can often support, all right? I'm just going to skip through these because I've already touched upon this that talks about our approach to English language teaching and it being a multimodal approach. But this is how we can help schools with lesson plans, with schemes of work, with guides for teachers, with exam videos, with explanatory notes. And this is what some of that material looks like. This is both a report, which is a diagnostic, as well as a certificate. So, just to remind you that it all begins with that pathway. And this can be implemented gradually, one at a time, or for bigger schools across multiple ages, but we normally recommend just starting with the early ages first. So on that note, I want to say thank you for having me and my colleagues over from Trinity College London. I just want to let you know, I've got 2 of them in the house. I just want to welcome them on stage so that you can put some names to faces. Varun, can I have, that's Varun is my colleague and the head of business for North India, Varun Mata, and he's joined by Sachin Das. Sachin is the country head and general manager of Trinity College London. And I'm going to say thank you for having us, because for the last 150 years, we believe in transforming lives through the power of performance and communication. On that note, I say thank you, and in case you need to reach out, those are our details. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I request Madhu Ahluwalia ma'am to come on the dais to present a token of appreciation from Time2GrowMedia to Dale sir.